Okay, I think I got this going right. Let's move that over. Looks like maybe it's a little laggy. I can't really tell. Hi everybody, welcome to Crocheting 101 Live. This is this is gonna be fun. Okay, so here's what the deal is today. We are crocheting a beanie, which is the final project for Crocheting 101. So what I'm gonna be doing is throughout this video, I'm going to be teaching how to actually crochet the beanie for beginners. So really intro stuff. So I'm going to be going from round to round, going, single crochet 6 here, blah, 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 showing it off. There's going to be a lot of times when the pattern is very repetitive. So in those times, I'm going to be checking the chat and replying to any comments. If anybody has any questions, let me know in the chat. I have some moderators there, so I don't miss any really big important questions about crocheting specifically, but I'll also be just checking the chat in general. So if you'd like to follow along with this pattern, you can use the link. There's a link actually right here. It's also in the description below. You could just go to clubcrochet.com/beanie, and you can actually download Crocheting 101 in its entirety and follow along with the beanie pattern there. It's also just like on that page. What else? Okay, so if you'd like to support this channel, there's a few different ways you can. First off, just subscribe to the YouTube channel down below if you're not already. Like this video. You can also become a Club Crochet member. Members get exclusive patterns that I upload. I do at least one pattern every month and add it to the Club Crochet library. It's a whole library of patterns that I make, each of which include a full video tutorial and everything like that. So you can support by joining that Club Crochet library. You can also support, that's only like $5 a month. You can even get like a free trial. You can also support by purchasing merch and kits. So this actually isn't part of the merch, but I might add this into the merch if people want it. I might add that one in. I don't know. But there's a bunch of merch. You can actually just scroll down under this video, and there's a bunch of merch there that you can get. There's like stickers and stuff like that. You can also support by super chatting. So there is a super chat thing in this in the chat room on this live stream here. So if you just hit there should be like a little dollar icon. I don't know. But if you click that and you can add a comment, and it'll appear actually on screen like right here. It's really cool, and it helps support this channel and stuff like that. What else? Oh, and then the last way is if you have anybody that you know that you want to encourage to learn how to crochet, send them over to Crocheting 101. It's just crocheting101.com. I think it's a pretty cool series. It teaches how to crochet for complete beginners. If you follow along, if you have followed along in it and you're on this beanie, you'll know what I mean. It goes through everything to teach how to crochet, and there's a bunch of projects that you can make along with it. And there's kits available, which you can find in the description below. That was quite a rattling on, and I'm sorry about that. But thank you so much for joining this live stream. You guys rock. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Yeah, so first question already, what yarn is that? So today we're using all worsted weight yarn. Even though this seems a little bit thicker than worsted weight, it is worsted weight yarn. This is Vanna's Choice. It's one of my favorites for simple yarn. I also really like Lion Brand's Wool Ease because it's got some wool in it, keeps it a little bit warm. I'm actually wearing a beanie right now that we're going to be making. This is all made with Vanna's Choice as well. This is actually what comes in the kits, so if you want to get the kit, it is down below. And because I'm using all this yarn, I'm using a size I9 5.5. Let's see, I don't know if it'll focus in, but I'm using an I9 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. This is the only one that I have available. Usually I use a Clover crochet hook, but I'm using Susan Bates today. I used to use Susan Bates crochet hook a lot. And yeah, it is worsted weight. Hey, Griff. Okay, so let me fix this seat because it's all weird and wonky. All right, that's probably good. Okay. And again, the hook size is I9 5.5 millimeter. Yeah, and I'll be kind of going a little bit slowly throughout each of the parts. Also, this is going to be a two-parter. We're going to do, our first part is going to be the main section of the beanie, and then the second part is going to be how to crochet the brim. We'll be doing the second part next weekend, next Sunday. Because there's a big portion of this beanie that's just repetition. So, yeah, it's the best way to do it. Okay, so rounds 1 through 13 of this pattern should probably be the same regardless of the size that you make. But after round 13, I'll let you know how to make it different sizes. The size you'll need depends on the size of your head, of course. But I have a bit of a tiny head, so for me, a small size fits snug to my head. And a medium size is just a slightly looser fit. This one is actually a medium size that I'm wearing. I think going when in doubt, you should go larger because an oversized beanie is more useful than an undersized one. To get the same size measurements as me, I'm gonna take my beanie off now, and you're gonna see my horrible hair. Whoop! I know I took a shower and then put the beanie on right away, so my hair is not looking great. Let me find my little ruler. So to get the exact same size measurements as me, you should follow along with the gauge. The gauge for this pattern is, if you look here, it should be about, looks like 4 stitches. Let's see. Well, it looks like, about three or 4 stitches per inch, and then about four rounds per inch is what we're around. So that's how, if you want to follow along with the gauge, you can measure your stitches and rounds once you have a little bit of your beanie to see if you're about on the same track. And if you're crocheting a little tightly or loosely, you might need to make your size a little bit larger or smaller, you know, based on whatever you do there. So yeah, this is what we're going to be making. All right. I know my hair is terrible, right? Real bad hair right now. But I got a beanie to cover it, so it's all good. Now, soon we're going to have a second one. Okay, so we're going to start with, by undoing a lot of this yarn because I wrapped it up all crazy weird. And we're going to start with something called the magic loop method. And it's relatively simple to do, I think, if you just follow along really, really nice and slow. First, we need to crack our knuckles to get the magic out. You know, that's step 1 of the magic loop method. Every time you got to get that magic out of them fingies. And yes, we are listening to Animal Crossing music in the background. Okay, so for a magic loop method, we're going to keep your non-dominant hand palm up, and we're going to take it and take the yarn and wrap around your index finger 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. Should have a little bit of yarn left over here, which you can hold down with your ring and middle finger. You can pinch it in between those 2 fingers, and then if you close your hand like a little finger gun with the yarn in between your hand like so, see a little finger gun there, you should have 3 loops on your finger. Then you can take your crochet hook and you want to go under the first 2 loops of your finger. So just 1 and then 2. And then you want to hook onto that 3rd one with your crochet hook. And we'll just pull that under those first 2 loops. And then you want to go and grab another bit of that same end that you just pulled through, go around the top of it and grab hold of that and pull it through the loop that you just made. And that's going to create a chain which will lock the yarn into place. And now you can take it off of your index finger. You can just slip it off of there because it shouldn't come undone anymore. Okay, so now you have this little ring. And what we're going to do for round 1 of our piece is we're going to single crochet into the center of this loop. And I'm going to show you how to do a single crochet, so don't worry about that. So for a single crochet, we're going to take your crochet hook and you want to place it into the loop. Okay, so you want to take your crochet hook. I like holding this like a spoon grip like this. Like I'm holding, a spoon. And we're going to take the crochet hook and go into the center of that loop right here, and then yarn over with the end that's attached to the yarn here, and pull that under and into that loop. And now you should have 2 loops on the hook. Now you want to go over the loop and then yarn over with the end that's attached to the yarn and pull it through the 2 loops on the hook. Boop. And that's going to be what we call a single crochet. Pretty easy. And we want to do 6 of those single crochets into the center of this magic loop. Let me open that chat too. Instructions unclear. Hook got into pudding. Yeah, you gotta keep that pudding away from your yarn. So let's do that single crochet again. We're gonna go into the loop, yarn over with the end attached to the yarn, pull it under the loop, then yarn over the loop, and pull through the 2 loops on the hook like that. There's our second single crochet. And you can see these little V's at the top there. Those are each single crochets. So 1 and then 2. Okay, so we're gonna do 6 of those. So there's 1, 2. There is 3. 4. 5. Into the loop, yarn over, pull through it, yarn over, and pull through 2. 6. So that's going to be the main stitch that we're going to be doing for this entire piece, is that single crochet. Once you have 6 loops on the hook, we can actually tighten this magic loop. So the way I like to do that is I like to pull this tail end, which is going to pull one of these 2 strings in to make it smaller. That's not the one that you want to... Hey, oh my gosh. Okay, wait. Before I finish this magic loop, someone just super chatted. So thank you so much, Lizzie. You rock. Thank you. This is a little dance for you. I call it the Louis Wiggle. It's not the Louis Seizure. It's the Louis Wiggle. Louis Seizure looks completely different. Thank you so much, Lizzie. You rock. You're the best. I really appreciate you. Thank you. And I'll see you later is metric. Okay. Seriously, that was really cool. Thank you. Okay, so now to tighten this magic loop, I like to pull the end here, which will pull one of these 2 slightly tighter. So if you see, so it's that top one. See, you can see it pulling in tighter. That's the one that we actually want to pull tight. So the only reason we did that is to know which one of these 2 gets pulled tighter. So we grab that top one right here, and we pull it from the bottom, which will tighten the other loop. So if you pull that one from the bottom, it's going to tighten that second loop. And you want to tighten it pretty tight, like that. And now when we pull this tail, it'll tighten this second loop, which will tighten the whole thing. There we go. It's called a magic loop. It's so that it closes the circle really tightly and you don't get like a big hole in the center of your crochet there. Okay, so that is going to be the end of round 1. We now have 6 single crochets around our piece. Let me not mess up everything again. There we go. Okay. I need to plug my computer in because I forgot. There we go. Easy squeezy lemon peasy. Okay, so we got round 1 done. Now, before I keep going, what we want to do is we want to grab a little end of any kind of other yarn that you have. We're going to use this as a stitch marker. So here I have this one is too long, so we only need a little bit. And this is like just a quick, cheap, easy way to get a stitch marker. So you just take a little bit extra of a string and we're going to crochet around it for our first stitch in our next round, round 2 here. This piece is worked in the round, which means that we are going to work in a spiral over and over and over again, just continually going in a circle. Okay, which is why you want to mark your end of the round. So now we're going to start into our first stitch that we made, which is this one right here. The best way to figure out which one is your first stitch, let's take a little needle here and we can use it to find where our stitches are, is we can count backwards. We made 6 single crochets. So if we count back, we look at these V's at the top there. We have 1 right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. It's going to be this one right here. This is probably the hardest stitch to get into in your entire piece. Is the first stitch of round 2. I always have the most difficulty getting to that stitch. So we want to get our crochet hook in there. It's best to use like just the edge of the crochet hook and your nail to like kind of really get under there. You want to make sure you're under both of those 2 loops, like that. Let's get nice and close there. There we go. So we're going to work 2 single crochets into each stitch around here, which is going to make an increase. Let's do the stitch marker after this round. It might be easier to add it. So we're going to do 2 single crochets into that stitch. So we're going to yarn over and go pull under those 2 loops. And then we're going to yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. So the same thing that we did into the center of the ring, we're doing that again. Okay? And we want to do that exact same thing into that exact same hole. So you can see the hole right there. We want to get our crochet hook into the same hole that we just worked into. Yarn over, grab a hook of yarn there and pull it under that hole. And then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook there to finish the second single crochet of an increase. There you go, you got 2 there. We're going to keep track of our stitches here by counting. See you, Lizzie. You need coffee. I hear that. I just drank a bunch of it. So we want to do 2 single crochets into each stitch. Now because there were 6 stitches, and if we're doing 2 into each of those 6 stitches, we're going to have 12 stitches by the end of round 2 here. So we're going to keep going around. We did 2. Let's go into the next stitch over. You can find it by, if you pull it open a little bit, you can see where both of those stitches are in. So you're going to go into the next stitch above that right here. Okay. Into those 2. And we're going to work another 2 single crochets into that one. So we're going to yarn over and pull it through that loop. And then yarn over again and pull through 2. Okay, and we're going to do that again into that exact same loop for our second increase. Into that stitch, yarn over and pull under that loop. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2. So we've done 2 increases now, and I'm going to sneeze. Oh, what a jerk of a sneeze that was. I hate those. It wants to sneeze. I know I want to, but I can't. Okay. So we did 2 increases. So if we did 2 increases and each increase is 2 stitches, then we've done 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll keep going around. We want 12 total. So into our next stitch here, we want to do another increase. We're going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through 2 for our first single crochet of the increase. Into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through. Yarn over again and pull through 2. There's our third increase and our 6th stitch. Let's go into the next one right here. Boop. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through 2. I'm just going really slow in the beginning here, but we'll speed up because it's very repetitive. Now go into the same stitch again for our 4th increase, 8th stitch. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, just 2 more increases into the next stitch right here. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2. There's our 9th stitch. Here's our 10th into the same stitch for our 5th increase. Final stitch right here. You want to do an increase into it. Go into that stitch, yarn over and pull through. yarn over, pull through 2, into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2. So that's going to be the end of round 2, and you should have 12 stitches around. I'm looking for my other needle, but I don't know where it is. That's okay. Before I continue, I'm going to count all the stitches, but before I count all the stitches, let's go ahead and cut this tail. We don't really need it. If you did the magic loop right, it won't come undone. You just want to cut it. You don't want to cut it too closely, though. Don't cut it really, really close. You want to cut it maybe right here so that it's not annoying us, but it still won't come undone. Okay. Before I continue going, I'm going to let's look at the chat for a little bit. Matthew Kimball has some great ideas for some future projects. A giraffe, an elephant, and a fish. I can tell you factually that 2 of those are in progress right now by me. I'm working on 2 of those 3. And I should start working on a giraffe as well. But giraffes are tough because you got all that pattern, you know? Who disliked? You know, some people do that, and that's okay. It happens. I thought, what would be kind of cool right now, really quick, before I continue to let people catch up, is show off a future project that's coming very soon to Club Crochet. I've figured it out this week, and I'm very proud of it. If you've liked my dinosaur patterns, you're really going to enjoy this. We have a little cute T-Rex pattern. This is coming out soon on Club Crochet, a lot sooner for Club Crochet members. So members will have access to this pattern way sooner. But I'm really proud of this. The coolest part about this entire dinosaur pattern, now the feet are a completely new stitch that I invented. So I had to invent this whole new stitch just for this pattern. For the feet, which it can be a little bit of a tricky stitch. That's probably the hardest part, is the feet. But the cool part is the only piece of this entire thing that is sewn together, I mean, except for the hat and the bow tie. Obviously, the hat and the bow tie are sewn on. But the only piece other than those 2 is the tail. Oh, actually, and the teeth. Okay, there's a bunch of parts that's sewn on. But the point is that the arms, the lips, and the feet are all crocheted into one piece. You don't have to sew them on. I really hate sewing pieces together, so I tried to do my best to make it the least amount of sewing as I could. I'm really proud of this guy. And the rough draft pattern is actually already available for Club Crochet members. And I'll be sharing that soon in an email. But it'll be coming out eventually for everyone. I'm working on a bunch of dinosaur patterns to come out at the same time. So, I don't know. It's kind of cool. Club Crochet members will get access to this way early in advance, though. I like his little hands. Okay, let's get back to it. Isabel, look at your comment above. He could do a Savannah category on the website. Yes, you're right. I totally could, and I'm working on a bunch of. I'm working on a bunch of different sections on the site. Yeah, and Lizzie actually has already started testing it. Okay, so we're back to our pattern here. Now let's count our stitches to make sure that we have the right amount before we continue on. And we should have 12 stitches around. The best way to count our stitches is start with the last one that we made right here. You can see our big loop coming out of that stitch. If we go under these 2 right here, this little V, that's going to be one of these stitches. So we count backwards. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's get in there. 10, 11, and 12. So this one right here should be actually our first stitch that we made. So we're going to take our yarn here. And you can do this a bunch of different ways. Actually, let's do it without the needle just in case you don't have one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my crochet hook, go into that first stitch, which should be the next stitch in your piece here, as long as you have 12 around. I'm going to go through the back of it like that. We're going to yarn over with our stitch marker, which is this beige yarn. And we're just going to pull that through just to keep it there. And we're going to start working around this in the beginning of each of our rounds. And this will show us where the end of our rounds always are. We're going to pull that over it. And that is worked into the first stitch. So we know that is our first stitch. Okay, so let's get our loop back on our crochet hook here. And we are on round 3. The cool thing about if you're following along on the PDF or on the website, the cool thing is that you can actually check mark each of the rounds so you know which round you're on. So we can check round 1 and round 2 and we're on round 3. Okay, so for round 3, we're doing a single crochet into our first stitch, and then we're doing an increase stitch into our second stitch. So for our first stitch right here, the one that stitch marker is in, we're going to completely ignore the stitch marker, and we're going to get back into that stitch. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. We're going to do one single crochet into that first one. There's our first single crochet. And then into our next stitch right here, we're going to do an increase stitch. So we're going to go into that stitch and do 2 single crochets to make an increase. So yarn over and pull 1 through. Yarn over and pull through 2. And then we're going to do the same thing into the same stitch. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through 2. Remember the last round we did 6 increases. So this time we're doing a single crochet and then an increase. And we're going to repeat that process of doing a single crochet and then an increase 6 times in a row. And that's going to bring you up from 12 stitches to 18 stitches. I'm going to start to go a little bit quicker now that we know our stitches too. So we'll keep going around. We'll do a single crochet into the next stitch for our second repeat. Yarn over and pull through. So we did a single crochet and then an increase. And now we're repeating that process again. So we're doing another single crochet. Now to the next stitch here, we want to do another increase. So we're going to go into that stitch. Remember to go under both those loops. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, and let's do that again into that same stitch. Another increase. Okay, so we're going to repeat that process 6 times total. We did our second repeat there. And let's keep going. This is our third repeat. We do a single crochet. And then an increase. Let's do it again. A single crochet. And then an increase. And there is like a way that I can tell where each of these increases are supposed to go. Okay, we got 2 more repeats here. Single crochet. And then an increase. And then our last repeat, a single crochet, and then an increase. Okay. So you should have 18 stitches around for round 3 there. Let's go back to the chat. Check out the chat while some people are maybe catching up if you're crocheting along. Isabel, thank you very much. Yeah, I do spend a lot of time doing this. So I really do appreciate people coming in and watching. Let me drink some coffee real quick. It's really hot in this room, especially with the beanie on. But I can't open the windows because I have a cat that's asleep right there. If I open the window, there's no screen on this window, so he could jump out. So I have to keep the window closed. It's very warm. I'm gonna have puddles under my pits. Is that a band name? Puddles under the pits? Maybe? I don't know. Okay. All right, so let's get back to it. Okay. Gotta start working faster here. We got a lot of ground to cover. Okay, so we're on round 4. And for round 4, we're increasing up yet again. So we're going to first take our stitch marker and pull it over. And we're going to work around this to keep track of where we're at. And we're going to, for round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase. So you can kind of see the repetition here. For our last round, we did 1 single crochet and then an increase. This time we're doing 2 and then an increase. Okay, so we're kind of like making it slowly larger as we go around. So we're going to do 2 single crochets. We're going to start into this next stitch right here. We're going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. That's going to be our first single crochet. And we want to do 2 of those. So we got 1, here's our next one. There's 2 single crochets, and then we're going to work an increase. Now, actually, I'll show you that. I'll show you how you can see that in a little bit once we have a little bit more to work with. Okay, so 2 single crochets and then an increase right here. 1 and a 2. Okay, and we're going to repeat that process of doing 2 single crochets and then an increase 4 times total. Let's see if I can get this a little bit closer and a little bit better in focus for anybody that wants it. Yeah, Jimbo's waking up. There we go. That's a little bit better focus. Okay, so 2 single crochets and then an increase, and we're going to repeat that 6 times total. 1, 2, increase. Let's do that repeat. There's our first repeat, so let's do our second one right here. 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then an increase. Buckle my shoe. There's our second repeat. Let's do our third. 1, 2, and then an increase. Buckle my shoe. There's our third repeat. Let's do our fourth. 1, 2, and then an increase. 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, and then an increase. See how we're working a little bit quicker now that we know what the repetition is and we know the stitches. 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then an increase. And that's going to be the end of our round. So we continually did those 2 single crochets and then an increase 6 times in a row, which should bring you up to 24 stitches. So we should have 24 stitches by the end of round 4 here. And I know I went rather quickly on that one, but you know, I gotta kind of speed up here a little bit. Okay, so before I go, let's go ahead and check the chat real quick. Tugba says that my girlfriend looks lovely. Is she Asian? That is actually not my girlfriend. That is one of my best friends, Casey. My girlfriend is in the other room and is equally as beautiful, if not more so. But don't tell Casey I said that. Actually, go ahead and tell Casey I said that. I don't care. Make VE says this is her first live stream. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so we are on. Yeah, that picture of my friend Casey is actually from high school. So, it's from a while ago. It's all good. It's all good. No worries. Okay. So let's continue here we finished round 4. We are on round 5, and this is going to be another round of the same kind of thing over again. So we increased up to 24 stitches. Now we're going to increase again up to 30 stitches, which means we need to add 6 increases, and it's going to be the exact same thing as last time, but with one more single crochet in between increases. And I know I said that kind of quick, but it'll make sense in just a second. So we're going to start by doing 3 single crochets. First thing is we want to move that stitch marker over, which I've already done. We're going to go into the next stitch right here, yarn over and pull through, and yarn over and pull through 2. And we're going to do 3 single crochets. So we got 1, 2, 3. There's 3 single crochets, and then we want to do an increase. 4 and 5. So 4 and 5 are in the same stitch. Okay, so 3 single crochets and then an increase. And we're going to repeat that 6 times again. So let's do that repeat. 6 times. And this time I'm going to keep count of my round. Let's try that. So we got, there's our 5th stitch. Let's go 6, 7, 8, and then 9 and 10. So you see that every 5 stitches there's gonna be an increase in the 4th and the 5th stitch. So it's gonna keep doing that repeat. So it'll be like, so see how we went 3, 4, 5. Now we're at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 9, 10 is the increase, and we're gonna keep doing that. So 11, 12, 13, and then 14, 15. So it's on our 5s. 14, 15 is the increase. Let's keep going. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So 19 and 20 is the increase. 21, 22, 23, and then 24 and 25. Now this is only for this round, so I'm just showing you that each round it's going to be, it's that increase is going to come on a different stitch, but there's always this rhythm to it. Like it's going to be this one I call this one the 5s because it's 4, 5. Then the next one's going to be the 6s. It's going to be 5, 6. You get the gist. Now here's the last 5. So this is 26, 27, 28, and then 29 and 30 is going to be in the last one here. So you should have 30 stitches around for the end of round 5. And see how it's getting bigger and bigger? Should be relatively flat as well. If you're crocheting tightly, it'll start to go in. So maybe loosen it up a little bit. That's going to be the hardest part of crocheting, in my opinion, is learning tension, which is how tightly or how loosely you're crocheting. Everybody has a different tension, and honestly, it changes throughout as you're crocheting. Sometimes I crochet tighter, sometimes I crochet looser. Could I make cat boots is the question, or a cat beanie? I think that's a great idea. Yeah, what is kitten mittens? You ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? He makes kitten mittens. I should make some kitten mittens. So we finished round 5. I have a feeling, well, that's okay. Okay, so we're on round 6. For round 6, I'm just doing a single crochet into each stitch around. Just one single crochet into each stitch around. This one's pretty easy. Oops. Make sure to pull up the stitch marker here. And if you want to keep count, you should have 30 stitches into this round. So if you want to keep count like 1, 2, 3. But it's just going to be single crochets all the way around. I'll go relatively quickly here. Just to keep going. And I could check the chat while I'm going. I can crochet with my eyes closed, man. I could just keep going. Yeah, crocheting too tightly. Make VE says that she's always crocheting too tight, which makes it really hard. But she just started, so she's a beginner. Yeah, I have to say, crocheting too tightly is definitely the problem that I had when I first started out. And I think the reason is because you're just not confident. Once you get this confidence of how crochet stitches work, it gets a little bit easier to feel confident in your stitches and to crochet a little loosely. But crocheting too loosely is also a problem. I would say crocheting too tightly is more of a problem, but crocheting too loosely can be an issue as well. Okay, so this should be our 30th stitch and the end of, I believe we're on round 6. Yeah. So this can be the end of round 6. I just did a single crochet into each stitch round. I did it really quickly, so I'll just take a pause there. And you know what? While we're taking a pause, I'll show you how to tell where to put increases and where not to put increases for this pattern. It's this cool thing that I noticed is that all your increases are going to go into the same place as the increase, the round before. So if we take our little needle here and we look for increases, you can kind of see what I mean. So if you look right here, we have an increase. And you can tell because there's 2 stitches going into the same hole. So here's the hole, and see these 2 stitches? There's 2 V's, and they're both going into the same spot. Now, to show you the opposite of not an increase, here's a single crochet right here, and that's 1 V going into one place. Here's another single crochet. It's 1 V going into one place, and here's an increase. 2 V's going into one spot. So that's an increase. And if you look under this increase, you'll find another increase. See? 2 V's going into one stitch. Here's a single crochet, 1 V going into one stitch. So the cool thing is, for this pattern, is all the increases should line up. They should all go up. Boop, 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 boop. And when you get into a round like this one, where there's just a single crochet into where that increase is, in our next round, we're going to put an increase into this stitch. So it'll line up with the stitch beneath it. It's a way you can tell where your increases are and make sure that you're on track. I usually do that in my patterns, actually. I try to keep it all consistent. And that's how I crochet without a stitch marker, is that I can tell where the increases are and where the single crochets are. That's something that comes with time as you're crocheting. You're going to get more and more used to being able to tell where increases are and where single crochets are. Okay, so let's continue around. We're on round 7. Abraham again. Okay, really quick before I get going on this next one, you'll see it right here in just a second. 3, 2, 1. Boom! Oh man, I called that perfect. What kind of dance do you want, Abraham? You gotta start letting me know what kind of dance you want. You want disco? You want dance like an Egyptian? Abraham, you rock. Thank you very much, Abraham. You're great. I really appreciate you. That's 3 times or 4 times. He's been doing super chats for each of these things. I so appreciate this. I mean, obviously these take a lot of time and effort, so I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much. Oop. I don't know where that guy came from. Okay. So now, let's get back to it. We're on round 7. For round 7, we are going to be doing that kind of same repetition that we were doing before. Again, so we're going to do 4 single crochets and then an increase. Last time we did 3 single crochets and then an increase. This time we're doing 4. So we move our stitch marker up and we'll do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll work our increase into this next one. And if you look 2 rounds under it, boom, we see that increase right there. And then there's a single crochet. So we're going to do 4 single crochets and then an increase to go 5 and 6. And this time the increase is going to come on the 6 stitches. So like if the last one was the 5s, this one's going to be the 6s. So it's all going to be divisions of 6. So it'll be 6, 12, 18. Those are going to be the increased stitches. That's if you want to follow along with like the math of it all. Okay, so we got 5 and 6. Let's keep going. 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11 and 12 because it's a division of 6. 11 and 12. Or we could just count it like this. We could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6. Since we have a stitch marker, we don't really need to count stitches if we don't want to. Your final count for this round should be 36 stitches around. So you should have 36 stitches by the end of this round. We are on round 7 if you're following along in the written pattern. We'll just keep rocking and rolling. So now I'm not even counting the stitches. I'm just looking for where that increase is, like I explained before, and then I'm putting that an increase above it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6. So it's going to be the end of round 7. I've got 36 stitches around, and I know I went rather quick there. I have a tendency to do that, if you can't tell that by now. Place that down for just a second. Isabel says that her go-to hook is 3.5 millimeters, which I think is an F? Might be an F. My go-to hook is a G, a size G crochet hook, which is 4 millimeters around. But honestly, I think smaller. I think I could probably go to a smaller crochet hook and still and do better. But I'm in like you know, I've been using a size G for so long that I'm just so used to it. Okay, so let's continue. We're on round 8. And for round 8, we're going to be increasing up yet again. So if we did our 6s last time, this time we're doing our 7s. So we're going to increase up to 42 stitches around. If you want to find out what your stitch count is going to be, we're always adding 6 stitches on it. So we started with 6 stitches in the first round. Remember, we did 6 single crochets in that magic loop. So every round I'm increasing 6 stitches more. And that's just to keep a consistent level of increasing. If I did more increases, it would start to like bend up like that. So if we did 36 stitches last time, this time we add 6 on top of it, and we're going to 42 stitches around. So we're going to first pull our stitch marker up, and we're going to do 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to do 6 and 7 in the same stitch. So 5 single crochets, then an increase. Boom. And we're going to repeat that 6 times around. Let's do our second repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 and 7. Let's keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 2 more of those repeats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then one last one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here's our last one. 6 and 7. Now you should have 42 stitches around. We're going to move that stitch marker up a little bit. That's pretty good. Let me get back to our chat. Ooh, that was a good neck crack. Okay, so 3.5 is an E, so 3.75 is an F. Okay. I didn't know it went up by only 0.25 each time. Okay. So, for our next round, we are on round 9, if you're following along in the pattern. I'm just doing a single crochet into each stitch around. There should be 42 stitches around, and it's all going to be single crochets. So first we move up that stitch marker, and we'll just do single crochets all the way around. And I'm going to go, you know how I do, relatively quick, but not too quick. And just single crochet around. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to answer Minty Corgi's question, which was, how did I start crocheting? Which I get asked that a lot. I started crocheting in high school. I got really crafty in high school. I started making a lot of gifts for friends out of just various crafts. And I found a crocheted thing online. I thought it was so cool. It was like a crocheted octopus, amigurumi. And I thought it was so cool that you could essentially 3D print. 3D printing really wasn't that big of a thing there, but you could essentially like sculpt or mold with yarn, and you could do it anywhere. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I need to give this a shot. And I lived right next to a Joann's. So I'd run over to the Joann. I ran over to the Joann's and I bought a plastic crochet hook and some yarn. I came back. I started crocheting. I was crocheting way too tightly, and I broke my crochet hook. I ran back. I got another plastic crochet hook, and I broke, I think, 4 or 5 crochet hooks in a row before I decided to get a metal crochet hook, and I was like, all right, fine. Fine, I'll get a regular crochet hook. But yeah, I started, that's the first thing I crocheted was like this amigurumi octopus. And then I learned, it was really easy to make. I don't even know if there was any even decreases. Oh, there's probably decreases. Yeah, but I started making a lot of crafts for just a lot of friends. There was this girl that I had a crush on, and so I would crochet her things all the time, which worked. We ended up starting to date. It was not the best relationship, but crocheting, I got crocheting out of it, so. Okay, so we're at the end of round 42. We're at the end of round 9. I just did 42 single crochets around. That's where I got the 42 from. Yeah, breaking, if that's why I don't encourage buying plastic crochet hooks, especially when you're starting out, is you're going to break them. Especially if you're making amigurumi, you're going to crochet tightly because you're starting to learn how to crochet, and everyone crochets tightly when they start. No one crochets loose, I've noticed. Everybody does tight when they start. And then they crochet too loose to overcompensate. You want to say hi? I guess not. Yeah.
Hello.
This is Jules.
Where's the camera?
Right here.
Over there. Hello. Wait. I'm gonna get behind you.
Okay.
Hello.
This is my girlfriend, Jules.
Hi.
Someone thought Casey was my girlfriend.
I know, I overheard.
Yeah.
She's really pretty, though. You're doing the hat, right? How's it going?
Yeah. It's going. You know, I was going a little slowly in the beginning to help explain some of the stitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going a little quicker now.
Well, you look cute.
Thanks. Thanks. Hey, thanks. Okay. So we're on round 10. We're going to pull our stitch marker up here. And for round 10, we're going to be increasing up yet again. So we're going to do 6 single crochets and then an increase. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we'll work an increase into the next. 7 and 8. So we're on our 8s, you could say. And we're going to repeat that process 6 times in a row. 6 single crochets and then an increase 6 times in a row. So let's do our second repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 and 8 are our increase. We'll just keep doing that repeat. Isabel asked in the chat if I could make a dodo, and I think that's a great idea. I could totally make a dodo. Let's bring them back, you know? Maybe we can make the dodos from Animal Crossing, Orville and Wilbur. I really like those guys a lot. But yeah, easy enough. We're just doing 6 single crochets and then increase into each stitch around. And this is going to bring you up from our last round was 42 stitches, and now in round 10 you should have 48 stitches by the end of the round. Yeah, I already kind of do have a little bit of a dodo pattern here. Okay, we got one more. The flamingo has a very dodo nose to it, so I could maybe work off of that. Okay. So we're on our last bit right here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 and 8 is our increase. And now you should have 48 stitches around, and that's the end of our 10th round. I'm gonna like give it a little bit of a stretch, loosen our stitches up just a little bit. Isabel, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Isabel. Okay. So now we are on round 11. In round 11, we're increasing up yet again. We're going up from 48 stitches to 54 stitches. And if you're curious of what to do here, you might already kind of know it. We're going to single crochet 7 times and then do an increase. So we move our stitch marker up. And we're going to do 7 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then our increase right here, 8 and 9. So we're working on our 9s now. And 9 times 6 is 54. So we should have 54 stitches around. So let's do another repeat here. You want to repeat that process 6 times total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 and 9 are in the same stitch. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're halfway through. Hey, if you're watching this in the future, after this live stream is over, feel free to comment in the comments below, and I'll reply. If you have any questions at all, just let me know in the comments, and I'll reply there. Also, just let me know if you're actually watching this in the future. I'm very curious about how many people watch during the live streams versus after it's already been recorded. This pattern might be a little bit different because, you know, we're actually going through a pattern, whereas mostly in the live streams I don't usually go and teach how to crochet certain patterns. It's more of not that, I guess. Okay, so we're at our last increase right here. 7, and then here's going to be 8 and 9. And you should have 54 stitches around for the end of round 11. You can see, if you fold it in half, you can see how it's going to be the top of the beanie. Okay. Another idea. Isabel has so many ideas. She says, can you make a Club Crochet app? Because the website is super slow where you live. The website, to be honest, the website is pretty slow, just in general. I'm currently working on fixing that. It's because of a lot of reasons. So I'm working on making it a quicker website in general. I actually have fixes that were supposed to go through today, but it took me a really long time to fix a few things, so I've got a few more fixes to make before they go through. But once those fixes are through, the browse sections will be a lot quicker. It'll be a lot quicker to get to patterns and stuff. So that's going to be a new thing that's coming soon that should help with the speed. But just in general, I'm currently working on making it go a lot quicker. Now, to get to an app, I have brought up a bunch of different times to friends that build apps that like, hey, I really want to turn Club Crochet into an app because there's not really a lot of crocheting apps out there, and I feel like it would really help out a lot of people. But a lot of my friends say that the investment that goes into making an app is just not worth it. It's worth it more for me to make the website itself work really, really well before we convert it to an app. So it is, I have thought about it, and it is something that I'd like to work towards in the future, but I think it maybe is another couple years away because I just don't have the resources available in order to do that right now. But it is definitely something that's gone through my brain, so I'm there. I'm there with you. Okay, so let's continue on. We are on round 12. For round 12, we're doing a single crochet into each stitch around. Now you should have just 54 stitches around. This is a nice easy round of just single crocheting all the way around. And we're almost at the place where you will want to stop and skip ahead if you are making a certain size, which I'll explain a little bit more in just a second. But I have a very unique way to make this beanie in a bunch of different sizes, where you can calculate it yourself. So yeah, we're just doing single crochets into each one around. Berry Patch Designs, Sarah, I should say, asks if you are making a cat toy, is it better to stuff it with polyfill or or beans? That's a good question. I don't know the exact answer right off the top of my head. I would say most likely it's probably better to fill it with beans, just because, like, if your cat eats polyfill by accident, it's probably not very good for the cat. That being said, as long as you crochet it with crochet it somewhat tightly, that stuffing shouldn't come out. So you probably don't have to worry about it too much. So I would say probably easier to fill it with polyfill, just because it's around, and it's also, you can just toss it. You can throw around something stuffed with polyfill, and it won't like hurt the cat if you accidentally throw it at the cat. Whereas if you stuff it with beans and you throw it around, it's going to be a lot heavier. So, yeah, I would say it's probably fine to fill it with polyfill. But if you're a little worried about it, then about your cat accidentally eating some of the polyfill, then yeah, maybe go with catnip instead. Fed10 says that she fills her cat toys with polyfill and catnip, but she puts the stuffing into a nylon stocking first for more safety, and I think that's a really good idea, especially if you're going to add catnip as well to it, because your cat is going to want to do that catnip. I just realized that I forgot to use the stitch marker for the last 2 rounds, but I can tell where the end of the round is by going up to the past stitch markers. Okay, so we've just finished up that round. That was round 12 is done. We just did a single crochet into each stitch around, and we now have, we still have 54 stitches around. So now we're on round 13. Round 13 is going to be the same regardless of your size, but after round 13 is when we're going to start changing things up based on the size. So let's just start. What is that? Is it this? Oh, it is. Huh. I saw a little, there's like a little black thing there, and I don't know. I didn't know what that was. Okay. Let's just go like that. Fixed. Okay. So, okay, so we are on round 13. For round 13, first we're going to pull up our stitch marker, and we're not going to forget this time. And we're going to single crochet into each stitch around. No, we're not. Sorry, I was afraid my phone was going to ring, because when my phone rings, my computer rings, and that would be just a problem. Okay, so we are on round 13. So for round 13, we're single crocheting 8, and then we're doing an increase into the next. So we're doing another round of just increasing up to make it a little larger. So 8 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then an increase. 9 and 10. And we're going to repeat that process 6 times total. So 8 single crochets and then an increase. We're going to do our 10s now. So it should be on every 10. So 19 and 20 should be an increase. 29 and 30 should be an increase as you go around. And by the end of this round, you should have 60 stitches around. So you should have 60 stitches by the end of round 13. And then after this round, it gets really repetitive, the pattern. It get not like in a bad way, but in a way of just like it, so you can figure out your size. It's a lot of just single crochet rounds and then increase rounds till you get to the size that you'd want. Okay, this is gonna be 29 and 30. Keep going, keep rocking and rolling. 8 single crochets and then increase. By the way, if you're listening to the music in the background, we are listening to Animal Crossing music. I'm a big fan of Animal Crossing and an even bigger fan of its music. I think Animal Crossing music is a great thing to have in the background, especially for live streams. I think it's just, it's great. Okay. That's going to be 50, 51, 52, 53, 55, 56, 7, 8, and then 59 and 60 should be an increase. The very end of that round. And that's going to be the end of round 13. Okay, so if you're following along and you want to an extra small size beanie, so one for like a baby, this is the size that you're gonna want. So you're gonna want it about that size, and you're going to want to skip to round N, which is in the pattern. If you're reading along in the pattern, there's going to be a round down below called round N. That's where you're gonna want to skip once you get the size that you feel is right. So, for example, we're on the size extra small, and let's just go down to round N and talk about it. We're not going to skip to round N right now because I'm making a size medium. I might even make a size large. Actually, we'll probably do a size medium. So, round N, the number N is going to be used for a couple different things in this pattern, and it's different depending on the size of the beanie that you made. I have a chart for what round N actually is, but to find it yourself, if you'd like to just like figure out what your round N is once you get to your final stitch count. For example, right now we're on an extra small beanie, so our size stitch count is 60 stitches around. It's whatever you finished your last round before you went to your repeating rounds to get the basically round N is going to be this. It's going to be like the main part of the pattern. Once you have the size of it right, you're going to go straight down. So you want to find your whatever your stitch count is. For example, 60 stitches around for an extra small, and you're going to divide that by 6. So we're essentially going to, you know how I've been saying this is the tens. We're doing 8 single crochets and then an increase, so it'd be 8, 9, 10. So I call those the tens. That's how you find it, is that you find your end stitch count, 60, you divide it by 6, and that's going to be 10. So your round N is going to be 10. So for a size small, you're going to be doing 10 rounds of just single crochets. So just 10 rounds of single crochets, and then we're going to go to the beanie, which is going to be the next live stream. So you want to do your round N amount of single crochets. So for an extra small, that's going to be 10. Now we're going to move up to a small and then a medium and then a large. So let's just continue on. But just know if you want to make an extra small, like a young child or baby size, you'd want to switch now to round N. But we have finished round 13. We are on round 14. And for round 14... Yes, the chat has gone really quiet, but that's okay. That just means that people are either crocheting or don't have very many questions, and that's fine. That's whatever. It's all good. Okay, so for round 14, we're doing a single crochet into each stitch all the way around town. So we're just going to do single crochet all the way around, and that's going to be 60 single crochets around. So we're going to move our stitch marker over and just crochet all the way around. Yeah, so I have a bunch of new updates coming to the website. So while we're doing these single crochets, I'll just give you a couple of new info, a little insider scoop if you're following in the live streams. So the first thing is I'm redoing the homepage. The homepage is going to have a bunch of new features. It's going to be very different. It's gonna, feature what the newest pattern is, what the newest tutorials are, things like that. But it's also going to have these brand new sections. I've got a new section called Quick Stitches, which are patterns that take an hour or less to crochet. There's also, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know if this will come out when the new homepage is released for the first time, but there's a thing I want to add called the Stitch of the Day. So it's going to randomly pull a pattern from the website. I think there's over 100 patterns on the site right now. So it's going to take just randomly one of the patterns and be there. So it's going to be like the pattern of the day, basically. And it should be randomized every day. I can't figure it out on my own, so I'm working with my friend who is helping code stuff for me to figure out how to add that in. But it might not be there when it first comes out. But there's a lot of updates. There's a brand new browse page, like I was saying, that makes finding patterns a lot easier and a lot quicker. Before, when you clicked into a pattern, currently, when you click into a pattern, it goes to the course page for that pattern, which is not the pattern itself, but like it explains, this is what you need for this pattern, and then you can go to another page which has the instructions for the pattern. And I shortened that up a little bit. So now if you have access to the pattern, it should take you straight to the pattern. It'll include what instructions are on it, but it saves a whole click through, But it's taken me a while to make it. I have to add all the patterns into it, so I have to like fix the pictures and stuff like that for it. Those are some kind of cool updates. I'll give you some more updates in just a bit. I'll get to it next round of single crochets. I got this really cool one for YouTube rounds that I think, or YouTube sections that I think is pretty cool. Okay, so we finished round 14. You should have 60 stitches around, and it's all single crochets. And that's the end of round 14. Griff is being mesmerized by crochet. Griff is a friend of mine up here in San Francisco. So hello, Griff. I don't think he's crocheting along, but if you are, awesome. I'm gonna take my beanie off and mess with my hair a little bit because it's very warm. Okay. Move that over. Okay, so we are on round 15. We're doing back cracks. Ooh, can you hear those? Feels great. All right, so for round 15, we are doing 9 single crochets, and then we're working an increase. Let's move our stitch marker up a little bit. We're gonna have to redo this stitch marker after this round as well. But we're gonna do 9 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then we're gonna do an increase, 10 and 11. So now we're on our 11s. So we're going to keep doing that repeat all the way around. So we're going to do 6 repeats of 9 single crochets and then an increase. And this is going to bring you up from 60 stitches to 66 stitches. So you should have 66 stitches by the end of round 15. 66 is kind of hard to say. 66 stitches. Oof. And if you haven't guessed yet, this is where you're going to, after round 15 here, is where you're going to skip to round N if you want a size small. And we're going to start doing this repeat of doing a round of single crochets and then an increase round. We're going to keep doing that until you get to the size that you want. And I'll show you how to make sure that it's the right size in a sec as well. So just 9 single crochets and then an increase. An increase. Okay. Just a couple more. I'm really excited to go to the beach later. We live up here in San Francisco, right across the street from the beach. So it's a really good escape, especially right now, because it's very easy to socially distance at the beach. So I'm pretty excited about going out there later. It's like a perfect day out. It was raining last night, but it's just amazing today. Probably going a long walk. Sounds pretty nice. Okay, so we're coming to the end of round 15 here. There's an increase right here. That's going to be the end of that round. Let's now let's fix this stitch marker. So I'll show you how to do that before we continue on. Oh, and here's where you're going to want to skip again. You want to skip to round N for the small size beanie if you want to make it a small size. Actually, before I fix that stitch counter, let me show you how you know if you want a small size or a big size or whatever. If you want to take your head, your skull, your noggin, and you want to take your piece and place it on the top, in the back of your head, like kind of like a yarmulke, like that. And if you feel that if you kept single crocheting down right now, that is as wide as it's gonna get. So you want it to get, for me, I would want this to be significantly wider. So we might even go to a size large, but you'd want it pretty big, you know, significantly larger. I don't know if you can see the top of my head, but that's how you can tell. Is it, if you feel like if you just went down now, if it was this size all the way down, it would fit you. That's how you know if you have the right size. And you probably want to go a little bit larger if you can. Philip! Hello! Oh my gosh. Okay, so Philip Ha is in the chat right now. He also goes by Sir. Oh, I'm drawing a blank on what your crochet name is. Sir Pearl J? I think it's Sir Pearl something. I'm not totally sure, but he is a fantastic crochet designer, and we're actually working on some amigurumi designs together, specifically for Animal Crossing. I'll show you it. One second. Let me show you while you're here. Let me show you what the recent pattern that that I'm doing a video for. One second. So I'm currently using this as a stuffing bag, and I'm trying to make it a little bit different, but so it's untied. Let me tie it back up really quick. Sir Pearl Gray. I don't know why I thought Sir Pearl J. So check this out. I did the knot kind of funny because I would just try to do it really quick. But it's a bell bag. And it's perfect for a project bag. This is like the prototype. I just made it for the first time. And there's, I'm working on a video for this to be coming out very soon. And I actually just ordered the yarn to make a giant one, like a pillow-sized bell bag pattern. It's really cool. The pattern's coming out very soon, but you can actually get it early, I think, from Philip's website, which is sirpearlgray.com. I believe. You can post it in the chat right now if you'd like to, Philip. But this pattern is coming soon to Club Crochet. And there's another pattern for a Gulliver. And if you've played Animal Crossing, Gulliver is the seagull that washes up on the beach. So a Gulliver pattern is also coming soon. So we're working on these patterns together. We got a lot of patterns coming out soon on the site. And he's also worked on a collaboration pattern in the past for an anglerfish. So if you look up Angie the anglerfish on the website, that's actually Philip's pattern. That was our first collaboration pattern. So I'm hoping that we get to do more patterns like this very soon. Here you can see. So this is coming out soon. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get notified when it comes out. And if you're a Club Crochet Pro member, you'll probably get early access when I finish it up. So I have to work on the video for this pattern. It's going to be quite a long video because it's actually a pretty long pattern. Okay. I'm so glad you showed up here, Phil. That's so cool. Okay. Let's get my beanie back on. Get it back into my outfit. All right. So we are on one of the rounds. This is why we keep the check marks going here. We are on round 16. And for round 16, we're just doing single crochets into each stitch all the way around. So we're on one of those nice single crochet rounds. I'm thinking, oh wait, that's right. We wanted to fix the stitch marker. Let's fix the stitch marker first. So the way that I like to fix the stitch marker is I just kind of pull out. I'll go on the inside here and I'll just start to pull this old stitch marker out. I like to do it stitch by stitch so you don't stretch out your pattern too much, because you can accidentally pull out and it'll stretch out your stitches. And once we get to right to the end here, now we're going to crochet around it again for our first stitch in this round. And you can't really see where it was, so that's good. Okay. All right, so this next round is round 16, and we are just single crocheting into each stitch all the way around. So we're just going to keep doing single crochets around. We'll pull it out almost all the way, and then we'll fold it over like that. Just keep working our single crochets. The cat's out of the bell bag now. Yeah, yeah, it's, you know, it's only for the people watching this video, which I think is probably significantly less than the rest of the site. But the Gulliver pattern is going to be very cool. I'm very excited for that. Yeah, I ordered the yarn. So I actually ran out of gold yarn when I was making this one. So this is all the gold yarn that I had. So I had to order more gold yarn so that I could do the video. And I actually ordered slightly larger yarn. I ordered more of this yarn for it because I want it to be a little bit bigger so that I can make it into a project bag for Jules. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool to use it for projects. And Jules is even more into Animal Crossing than I am, which is shocking. It's a shock. That's a shocking fact. D&D Maps post comments, and he says, "Can you make a goblinoid sometime? Thanks." Heck to the yes. I love making goblinoids. I make goblins. Honestly, I used to do one every single day. I haven't made one in the past couple days, but I usually do one about a day every day. Actually, I believe you have D&D Maps. Do you have a Patreon or something? I think I follow you somewhere. Yeah, I should do a collaboration soon with some sites where I'll do like giveaways or something for goblinoids. I have armies of them here, and I don't know what else to use them for. Yes. Okay. So Lizzie asks if I can fix the pro kits so that we can do them for international shipping. Yes, that is on the next. That's the next thing that I'm trying to work on for the site. So I'm trying to the current fixes that are going to come through pretty soon are a bunch of just additions to the site to make it a little bit quicker, a little bit easier to use, and stuff like that. But in the future, the next one after that is I really want to add pro kits for international shipping. Right now, I can't ship the pro kits internationally because it's just too expensive. It costs more than the kit, than I charge for the kits to ship them internationally. And right now, the shipping is free for United States. So I'm trying to, and yes, it is definitely something that's coming soon. And I'll definitely be notifying you for when that happens. Okay, so we finished our round of single crochets. That's the end of round 16. And we are on round 17. For round 17 and that's I think the size that I'm gonna be making. Well, I might be doing a large. Let's see. What is this one? Let's see what this one is. This one is 1, 2, 10. Yeah, this one is actually a size large. I mean, size medium. So we're going to be doing a size medium. Okay, so we're on round 17 for a medium. And for this round, we are going to be doing 10 single crochets and then an increase. So we're going to do 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And then we'll be doing an increase into the next stitch right here. 11 and 12. And we're going to repeat that process 6 times around. So we're going to repeat it all the way around. Let's do it again. And that's going to bring you up from, you should have had 66 stitches but at the end of round 16. But at the end of round 17 here, we should be up to 72 stitches around. And I'll explain how to do larger sizes, but this is going to be the largest that I'm going to be making in this video. So you'll see how it's getting a little bit bigger. And I don't know if I'll be doing all the single crochet rounds because it is just repetition of just doing single crochets after this. So I might end up cutting the video relatively soon since there's not really too much more to teach and it's getting very warm in here. And we have been going for almost 2 hours, so it's been quite a long video. But I'll go. We're not done. We're not done just yet. So again, that's 11 single crochets and then an increase. Oh wait, I'm sorry. 10 single crochets and then an increase. I'm ahead of myself here. Okay, so we're coming up to the end of the round. Got one more repeat of this. And you can see I'm working a little bit more loose than I would for amigurumi. And that's because of this bigger crochet hook. It makes things easier to crochet it a little bit looser. Fenton, oh, you're probably already gone, but good night. Thank you for joining. It's apparently almost midnight in Germany right now. Okay, so we're at the end of our round. And this is where you're going to want to stop if you want to make a size medium. Okay, so that's going to be the end of that round. You should have 72 stitches around. And now we're going to skip to round N. But before I skip to round N, let me explain what you'd want to do if you want to make larger sizes. So if you want to do a size medium, we'll skip to round N. If you want to do a large size, here's what the rounds would be. You would do a single crochet into each stitch around for another round. So we'll be alternating doing one round of single crochets and then a round of increases. And you'll keep doing that to get it larger and larger. So for example, for size small, we ended at round 15 and we had 66 stitches around. That was a round of increases. And then for round 16, we did another round of just single crochets, and then we increased up again for a medium size. Now, if we want to do larger, we're going to do a round of single crochets and then a round of increasing by doing 11 single crochets and then an increase. Repeating that 6 times, which will bring you up to 78 stitches for the large size. And you'll continue doing that, making it larger and larger for the different sizes up. But for ours, we're going to be doing a size medium. For a size medium, we want to find what our round N is. Now, if you're following along in the pattern, it actually just tells you it's 12. But if you wanted to figure out what that was, you would take your final stitch count. Again, that's 72 stitches, and you divide it by 6. So 72 divided by 6 is going to be 12 stitches around. So our N is 12. So for the next 12 rounds, we're going to do a single crochet into each stitch around. So 12 rounds in a row. And that's going to give us our length of our beanie. It'll probably be about that long. You can make it even longer. So you could just keep repeating to make it as long as you'd like it to be. I find that just doing 12 gets us to the size that I want, which is about like that big. But you can keep going longer and longer if you want, and it makes it more and more of a baggy beanie. The cool thing about this pattern is that the brim is currently pulled up, but if you undo it and you make the brim like this instead of tucked up, it actually turns it into a baggy beanie, you know, like a saggy kind of beanie. So it's kind of cool that you can just kind of change it very easily that way. And I'll go ahead and just do a few rounds of these single crochets, but we'll be closing up shop pretty soon here. But we want 12 rounds of single crochet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull our stitch marker up here and start our single crochets. And we'll just start working around. Got 12 rounds of these. So at this point, I don't even count. I don't count my stitches at all. I just keep crocheting around and around and around and around until I have 12 rounds of single crochets. And that's why you want to have your stitch marker here so you can tell how many rounds you've done. Isabel asks, what's the most of one pattern that I've made? For example, she says 9 hearts or 5 pies. I would say goblins. Goblins is definitely the most I've made of the same pattern, and I've made hundreds and hundreds of them. I've made so many of those things. They're all around this house. So that's probably the most I've made. I have made a lot of these beanies as well. This was one of the first patterns that I ever designed. And I'm really proud of it. I think it's a really good pattern. So I probably made a couple hundred beanies as well. When I was in high school, this is actually what I did to make the majority of my money. Was I crocheted beanies. And I actually raised, I think it was $2,000 in 1 month when I was in high school by making beanies. It was to get a computer for my girlfriend as a gift. I just crocheted a lot of beanies for friends. I just sold a bunch of them. Yeah, so I would say either, it probably used to be beanies, but now it's probably goblins is the answer to that question. as I go around and around and around with this. I probably won't continue using the stitch marker after this round. I'll go around it one more time, but I can just count up the stitches from where the stitch marker is to see how many rounds I've done. It's like a sneaky way to keep going without continually reusing the stitch marker over and over again. And once you finish your round N, which is our 12 rounds here of single crochets, that's when we're going to be making the brim, which is what we're going to be doing next week. So that's why you want to figure out what length you want the beanie before you start on the brim. And this just might be homework for a lot of people, is to get to the brim. Get to the brim. Okay, so there's our first of 12 rounds done. We're going to pull our stitch marker up and just keep on crocheting around. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments that I could help with, especially if you're learning how to crochet right now and you have any questions about certain stitches. Even if it has nothing to do with this pattern, I'd be happy to help out while we're on video. And if you have any questions later on after this video, just let me know in the comments below this video, or comments on any video at all, and I'd be happy to help out as best as I can. You could also join the Facebook group. We actually have a Club Crochet Facebook group, which I know Melbell has posted in the comments, but I'm not totally sure what the link is. But if you go to facebook.com/officialclubcrochet, you can find the Facebook group, and that's where you can post pictures of your projects, and you can ask for help there as well. There's a lot of people that are definitely willing to help out if you can, or if they can. And I'm in that all the time too, helping out. There you go. She just posted it in the chat right now if you're following and you'd like to join the Facebook group. That's probably a really good place to get help or to ask any questions as well. Yeah, and Melbell says, don't feel bad if you need to use stitch markers. I agree with that. I don't think, yeah, using stitch markers is never a bad thing. I usually don't use stitch markers when it's a small project, like if I'm making a triceratops or something. But for larger projects like this, when you're doing a lot of single crochet rounds in a row, it's really nice to have a stitch marker so that you can tell how many rounds you've done and where the end of the round is. Nicola Reeve asks, do you find different types of yarn easier to work with? I've been using cotton yarn for the first time today, usually use acrylic, and I found it's a lot easier to see where the increases are. I would completely agree with that. My favorite yarn to use is cotton yarn because the stitches are very clear. There's less fuzz going on in the pattern, in the stitches. I usually do not like using acrylic yarn. I think acrylic yarn, it's also rough on the hands, and it usually just doesn't look as good as cotton yarn, especially for amigurumi. It just looks cheaper usually. So I would say cotton is probably my favorite yarn to use. It's also the easiest yarn to not accidentally split. So splitting yarn is when you're crocheting and you accidentally grab, like, I'm trying to do it right here on purpose, like this. No, I can't do it. But it's when you accidentally grab like half the yarn like that, and you have this like split in your yarn. And it's kind of hard to do that with crochet, whereas with other kinds of yarn, it can be a little bit splitty. I know bamboo and silk is very splitty. It's very easy to split that yarn. Yeah, so I find probably cotton is my favorite yarn to use. It's also the easiest, the cheapest and easiest to find a lot of different colors in, while still keeping up that quality, which is why you'll find that most of my amigurumi is made with cotton yarn. 100% cotton specifically. Isabella asks, when she does an invisible decrease, it always stands out in your pieces. Is there a way to combat this? That's a good question. So there's a few different ways to decrease. I think that using an invisible decrease is probably the cleanest and most difficult to notice in your pattern. So I think invisible decrease probably is your best bet. It depends on what you're making. But the best way to combat it, don't use different colors. That's probably a good way to combat it. Normally, my suggestion would be use invisible decreases instead of single crochet 2 together or a sharp decrease. If you're wondering what the difference of those stitches are, let me just do one right now. So an invisible decrease is when you work into the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So you take your crochet hook and you go only into the front loop. So here's under both loops, and here is under the front loop. So just that front loop, and you go under both the next 2 front loops like that, and then you work a single crochet. So you yarn over and go under those 2 front loops, and then yarn over again and pull through. And it makes this invisible decrease that looks relatively like the rest of the pattern. You can see it right there. That's probably the most invisible of decreases that you can do. Other ways to do decreases is a single crochet 2 together, which is when you go under both loops of the next stitch and pull a loop through, and then go under both loops of the next stitch, pull a second loop through, and then yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook there. We'll actually be using that later on in this pattern. It's still relatively difficult to see, but I find that it leaves a little bit of holes in your piece, especially if you're making amigurumi. So I go for invisible decreases over single crochet 2 together most often, although sometimes I do use a single crochet 2 together. The last way to decrease is called, I just call it a decrease, but it's like a sharp decrease. It's kind of like a slip stitch 2 together. So to do that, what you do is you go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through like you're doing a single crochet, and then go into the next stitch right here, yarn over and pull through a second loop like a single crochet 2 together. But that second loop, you want to pull through both the loops on the hook like that. That's a very noticeable decrease. It's really easy to see on your patterns, which is a problem obviously, but it really decreases it very sharply, so it like really closes it in. It makes it really good for making a very flat bottom where you don't need to see the bottom of it anyhow. So for example, on this T-Rex, the invisible decreases are on the bottom here, and it doesn't look pretty, but it makes it really flat, and so you can make your character stand up on its own. So those are the 3 kinds of decreases. I have a whole video for that actually. If you go to clubcrochet.com/decrease, DEC, it'll take you to that video. Elena asks, why do I always use worsted weight yarn in my amigurumi? Good question. So worsted weight yarn, in my opinion, is the easiest yarn to use for size because it's small, but it's not too small. So smaller like sock weight yarn is really hard to use because it's just so tiny, which is kind of fun to use, but it can be also difficult. Larger yarn than worsted weight is for amigurumi can be a problem because you could find that you make a lot of holes in your pieces, so the stuffing shows through. So I find that worsted weight yarn is my favorite size to use for amigurumi because it doesn't show the holes through. It's a little bit easier to use. Yeah, also I'm just kind of used to it. It's the easiest one to find as well, especially in a lot of different colors. That being said, bulky yarn is really fun to use for amigurumi because it makes like a really big piece, which can be kind of fun. I don't know. It's a personal preference, but there are definitely reasons for it. Yeah, good worsted weight cotton yarns, in my opinion, are Lily Sugar and Cream. I think that's probably my favorite cotton yarn because it's the cheapest with the most widely available colors. Other types of 100% cotton yarn to use is Bernat has this really nice cotton yarn, and so does Lion Brand. Lion Brand has this cotton yarn that is really nice. It's 100% cotton, and it just works out really good. Those are some of my favorites. You're very welcome, Elena. Thank you for asking. Oh, Isabel said that she was taught a different kind of way to do the invisible decrease other than the way that I just showed you. I'd love to know what your way to learn how to do the invisible decrease is. That sounds really interesting. I mean, it might not be the best for making a legitimately invisible decrease, but it could be useful for something. So if you have the time, actually send me an email for how you make an invisible decrease. I'd love to see it. My email is louis@clubcrochet.com because it could be useful. All right, so I'm gonna do. I think we have 4 rounds done so far of our 12 rounds, which is pretty good. I'll get like halfway done here. I might go longer than 12, which I'll let you know in the beginning of the part 2 video if I do go longer than 12. Which will be next Sunday at 1 p.m. And again, if you'd like to support this channel, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. The easiest and cheapest way is by just sharing Crocheting 101 with a friend or family member that you feel would benefit from learning how to crochet. So it's just crocheting101.com. Just share that with a friend or family member, or buy them a crochet kit and force them to learn. You can find my crochet kits in the description of this video. And it's free shipping in the United States. I have a starter kit and a deluxe kit. The deluxe kit includes the yarn that we're currently using to make a beanie and a secondary crochet hook, whereas the starter kit just includes the yarn so that you can learn how to crochet. Okay, so we're done with this round. I'm going to do one more round of single crochets and check for comments. So if you have any last questions, really quick, feel free to ask me in the comments of this video, of the live stream, and I'll do my best to answer them. But then after this round, I think I'll probably call it for the day, and we'll come back next Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Same time as this video was live streamed. If you follow Club Crochet on Facebook, you should be able to get a notification that way as well. If you're subscribed to the YouTube channel here and you click that little bell icon, you'll be notified. And if you join the email list by just going to clubcrochet.com and creating an account, you'll also get the notification that way for whenever I start live streaming. And yes, as Melbell says in the comments right now, she said, join us on the Facebook group where we vote for, you can vote for different crochet patterns. You can show off your crochet projects, or you can get help from other hookers. Sir Pearl Gray, thank you so much for joining. I seriously appreciate it a lot. It's really cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool of you to join in. And go check out his patterns if you haven't yet. Okay, so we're just coming up to the end. Oh, are we? No, we're about halfway. Again, last call for questions, if you have any. And thank you guys so much for joining in on the chat. If you've joined in this live stream, if you weren't able to, I totally understand. But if you were able to join in the live stream, I really, really appreciate it, especially for staying in the live stream for this long. It's really cool of you. Thank you so much. You guys make my Sundays a lot better, a lot more fun. I'm gonna usually be crocheting on Sundays regardless, but it's fun to crochet with a bunch of friends like this. And you know, while this one was a little bit more exhausting because I was teaching how to crochet and talking a lot more, it was still a lot of fun for me. Alice says, maybe do a Shrek pattern. I know you made some goblins, but it's not the same. To be completely honest with you, I probably won't do a Shrek pattern, and the reason for that is I'm trying to stay more away from copywritten patterns if I can. Video game patterns I'm probably going to stick with, but Shrek specifically, I probably will get a ding from DreamWorks. So movies usually get me. So I know I've gotten like cease and desists from Fox and from Disney before, so I try to avoid it if I can, or I try to make it a little sneaky. I'll call it Shrunk instead of Shrek. Okay, well I finished that round actually a few stitches ago, so I think that's probably good. For your homework, if you are crocheting along with a beanie, get to the end of round N to where you would start the brim, and we'll be starting to crochet the brim next week. So next Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's place this down right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. Pasta la pizza, and happy hooking. Bye, guys. How do I do this? There we go.